He's got a great story to tell. Let's tell it.
My man, we are live, gentlemen. Okay, let me get this situated here. There we go. Awesome. Stephen, how you doing today, sir?
I am loving life, Derek. Thank you so much for having me on here.
You're very welcome, brother. You're very welcome, man. It was great to Stephen, didn't we meet at Owners Club?
We met briefly over Owners Club. Yeah.
Okay, nice,
Your
man.
presentation was phenomenal, I got to say.
Oh, thank you so much, man. Thank you so much. And the more that came from with our office hours, we're going to be having a lot of Q&As back and forth. We have some pretty cool, let me call them SOPs that are going to be coming your way. So it'll be a lot of fun there. Jason Bates, my man. How's it going, brother?
Oh, it's phenomenal. It's a wonderful day to be in real estate. I'll tell you that.
Beautiful. So today, our wonderful host, Jason, will be interviewing Stephen Hunt. And we're excited to hear about Hunt's story. Mr. Ethan Hunt in Mission Impossible. We're excited to hear about Stephen Hunt's journey and his story. Before we jump into that, Money Beat Challenge is happening July 1st and 2nd. That's a Monday and Tuesday. That's going to be happening from 8 a.m. to 12 p.m. on both of those days. So do sign up for that. I'll make sure to put those details in the notes in the chat. So without any further ado, you guys knock it out.
Hey.
Appreciate you, Derek. Thank you. Welcome, everybody. For those of you who had the Mission Impossible theme in your head when he said Ethan Hunt, yeah, I'm not the only one, I know for sure.
Yeah, I get it a lot.
Yeah. So real quick, my name is Jason Bates. I am a SubTo and Gator student, as well as a top-tier certified TC. I'm the co-founder and CEO of Venture Vibes Fund, where we raise private capital for buying RV parks and other vacation-type properties. And I'm also co-owner of Finish Line TC Services. However, you guys didn't all come to hear what I do. We're here to hear what Stephen Hunt's been up to, especially in the SubTo community. And I know you're at Owners Club, so you probably got some gems you could drop there on top of that as well.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, let's get to it. Absolutely.
Awesome. So let's give everybody a background. I always equate it to a GPS, right? In order to know where we're going, we got to know where we started. Yeah. So what were you doing before you entered real estate or before you joined SubTo?
Yeah, so before real estate and SubTo, I was in medical sales. And before that, software sales, basically an entire sales career. I started working in sales when I was 13 or 14 years old, right around there. A local guitar shop I used to hang out at all the time, asked if I wanted a job. They'd pay me under the table if I could sell the guitars, because I knew everything about the guitars. So I kind of just kept that train rolling, kept going with the sales. And I thought in order to get into real estate that you had to make a lot of money. I thought that was the only way. So that was why I worked my way up towards medical sales, jumping from job to job, just trying to get the next title and get the next pay raise.
Gotcha.
And then shortly into medical sales is when I learned about SubTo and all of these creative financing strategies. And I was like, oh my gosh, what am I doing? What have I been wasting time on? And ended up leaving my job in early 2022, January of 2022, and went full all in on real estate. So I've been into real estate now for about 2.5 years.
Awesome. And I wouldn't say you wasted your time. You needed to be ready for information like this. You needed to have that sales background and understand how people tick before you knew what kind of tools you can get from creative finance. So I really think you were at the right place at the right time for where you are.
I would agree with that completely. I think a lot of the skill sets that I developed are attributed to me having quick success in real estate because I was able to transfer those immediately over to the real estate industry.
Nice. So what made you decide to join the community? Had you been watching Pace's videos? Had you been talking to other real estate investors?
Yeah, great question. So my wife and I, her name's Angel, had a huge interest in getting into real estate. We just thought that you had to save up 20 to 25% down for every single house. So that was always the goal for us. However, one random day back in 2021, April Giuliano, who is Angel's stepsister, was in town for a Pace Morby mastermind. We had no idea who Pace was, never heard of the guy at that point in time, never heard of creative financing either at that point in time. So she came and stayed with us while she went to this mastermind, and she'd come home and tell us all the nuggets that she was learning at this mastermind. I was like, this sounds like black magic. Are you joking? What's going on? I was like, is she getting into the wrong thing? I don't know. So we watched her for an entire year completely crush it at real estate and just really just was off to the races. And that was the moment for us where we're like, what are we doing? Let's go ahead and jump all in onto real estate. And that's when we ended up joining the community as well.
Very nice. Very nice. And that's a good reason, right? Because when you watch somebody be successful in the area you want to be successful in, you start to pick up the energy, and then you start thinking to yourself, wait a minute, if this person can do it, that's proof that I can do it. And so I really like to see what that's about. So that's very powerful. I call that borrowed confidence, right? When you haven't done something before, but you're really close, you know someone or trust somebody that's doing it, then you could use their confidence to say, well, okay, they can do it, so I definitely can too. And so that's very powerful. I'm glad you got that kind of exposure.
Yeah, thank you. That's exactly what it was too. It was as soon as I could see other people doing it, because it sounds, I mean, when you think of a real estate investor, when you're not into real estate, I'm sure this goes for a lot of us, right? We're like, oh, that's like the top tier. Like people that invest in real estate, that's the richest people. That's the people that, you know, they have all the money in the world. That's why they're able to do it. And that's just not the case. So when I saw her doing it, literally starting from zero, she was living with a friend at the time in the garage with her kids. And she was cold calling from the garage. I was like, oh my gosh, if you can do this, I can do this. What am I doing here?
Yeah, no, that's awesome. Because I remember I used to be in that mindset. Well, that's for them. Those are for the rich, successful people. That's not for me. And then I realized, well, wait a minute. It's not that they're doing it. It's not that they're better than me. They're just doing it different. And once I figured out what they were doing different, then that became the game changer. So
exactly.
Great point. So tell us a little bit. How did you find this deal? Give us some background on how you found it.
So for the Meadow Lane deal, this is the one that we talked about, Ingrid Hernandez and I, correct? Yeah, so this one actually came through a probate attorney. So a big portion of my business and the way that I find leads, and Ingrid and I both find leads now, is I do it through a lot of business relationships, B2B relationships. That was my background going into all of this. So it only made sense to stick with what we already knew. So this one came from a probate attorney, and we didn't think it was going to be a huge deal at the time. It was more so building that relationship with the probate attorney. We're like, well, maybe make 20K. I don't know. You know, we'll see what happens with this one. But the relationship to us was what was most important. So he sent over the deal and said, hey, if you're able to help out with this, I'd be super grateful. And we were able to. And we were able to do it as a subtail. Now, this guy had already been getting pitched at 350, 360 for a purchase price. And we were able to come in at 400, which was the number that he really needed to sell at. And because we were able to use creative finance, we didn't have to use banks. We didn't have to use anybody in that sense. So we got to avoid a lot of the lender fees. We got to avoid so many just ridiculous expenses that come from using a hard money lender. So we were able to give him that extra amount because we were saving all of that money on the fees alone.
Yeah, and that's a great point, because I know some people that are selling their houses right now conventionally, right? And what they're finding is people are asking them to deeply discount them because interest rates are so crazy. You gave this guy exactly what he wanted and asked for, and then in turn, he returned the favor back to you by structuring it in a way that it made sense for an investor. So you guys both win, and that's really the power of creative finance.
Yeah, you know, he still texts and calls us all the time, and he's like, I just want to say again how thankful I am. I can't believe that you guys were able to do this and get to that number. He's like, it's completely changed my life, and thank you so much for getting me out of that situation.
Very cool. That's very, very cool. I love that. And, you know, I was talking to somebody a week ago, and I said, you know, we're in real estate, but we're really in the relationship business. And you just proved that, right? You put this guy on a trajectory that he didn't think was possible just by thinking outside the box and being creative. That's powerful.
Yeah. And we give them those options too. I know where the cash offers are going to come in at, because I typically buy cash in a lot of situations. We've switched a lot more to creative recently with all the rates and where things are at. But yeah, so I'm like, listen, I can get you this much. It's going to be the same as everybody else. But if you're willing just to hold on with us for a little bit longer, it'll take an extra 2, maybe 3 months, and we can get you that extra, $50,000 that you need.
Yeah, and that's the powerful statement right there, because I have that conversation all the time. I said, look, I believe nobody should ever have to discount an asset, even in this environment. So if you're willing to have a conversation, here's a couple of ideas that I have, and let me know how those feel to you, and then we can go into deeper details. So
totally.
Yeah, that's an incredible strategy. So that you told us how you found it. Now kind of break down the deal for us so we understand what you did, what you took out of the deal, what the seller took out of the deal.
Yeah, so the seller ended up netting, oh gosh, what was it? I think it was close to about $150,000 that the seller ended up fully netting on that, because the seller owed very, very low twos. And he was giving some money to his ex. That's one of the reasons why they were leaving. They were going through a separation, and he just needed to get out of there. But on our end, we ended up making, on the HUD, it says $68,000. We thought we were going to break the 70 mark, but ended up being $68,000. The cool part about this flip is that we were able to squad up with other people in the community on the buy side of this. So with Ingrid Hernandez being a real estate agent, typically we put properties on the market to go sell. But here we already had somebody in SubTo that was actually looking to move to Arizona. This happened to be on the exact area that they wanted to be in, the exact price point that they were looking at. So it made the flip a lot easier in that sense, because I got to show them a bunch of the flips that I've done before in the past and say, hey, what finishes do you like? Now I can kind of tailor this within reason. You know, we're not doing Calcutta marble, floor to ceiling by any means, but we can tailor this to something that you guys really want so that you're getting your dream home when you move here. All we ask is that you're able to pay whatever the appraised value is. And the appraised value ended up being higher than what we had originally underwrote it at. And that's why we were able to get such a larger spread. Like I mentioned before, we thought maybe we were going to clear $20,000 on this one, and it was more for the relationship. And at the end of the day, we got to build so many relationships out of this one transaction.
Yeah, I had a great conversation with Jerry Norton a couple of weeks back, and he was talking about how when he does a flip, he looks for the avatar of the buyer. So that kind of changes the way he does a flip versus the way he thinks the flip should be. He kind of picks an avatar of the end buyer, and then when he finds the end buyer, he says, look, we're willing to make that tweak if you want something different. Just give us our full asking price, and then we can talk about how we can incorporate like a color change in the house or this or that. And so you bring up a great point that understanding what your end buyer wants is the key to making these flips successful.
Yeah, absolutely.
Perfect. So did you structure this as an ovation, as a creative deal? How did you guys make this work?
Yeah, good question. So we did it as a subtail. So what that means is that we bought it subject to the existing mortgage. So we took over the existing mortgage. We said, hey, we're going to give you X amount of dollars, $50,000 in this case, for your down payment and get you out of the house. And then the remaining equity, that remaining $100,000, I'll say those numbers to keep numbers easy. That remaining $100,000 is going to be in second position. It's going to be silent. We're not going to owe you any interest on that. You're going to get that paid out as soon as we sell the house. And we gave him timeframes on what that would look like and what a worst case scenario would look like on that for him too. So he was very in the know, understanding exactly what was going to happen. He got the money he needed to move on the front end, which was great. So it was truly a win-win there. I personally don't love doing novations. We considered doing a novation on this one just because I'm under the mindset that, hey, if anything goes wrong, should anything go wrong, I'd rather be the one that's owning the property so I have more pivots. And I've had to do that before in the past with SubTo deals and seller finance deals where we've had to pivot and we didn't have to stick to that specific structure that we originally agreed to.
And that's perfect, right? Because for those of you in the TC community, Molly Tennant calls this the Molly method, where you take it over, subject to a creative finance. You put a lien in second position for the money you promised the seller, and then you do a really short balloon, which is no different than an ovation, right? And that gives you flexibility too, because you can sell it for that profit, or you might get done with the project and go, man, I love this property, I want to keep it. And then you can just refinance out and then pay off the seller. And see, now you got more options and the risk is lower than on an ovation because like you said, you have the property and you've got more say in what's going on. So, yeah, that's a great point.
Well, and this property had been paid down for the past 15 years. So we're essentially the interest, the payments that we are making to the mortgage on a monthly basis, they're heavy on the principal side of it. Yeah. So as we're making payments, we're technically getting the majority of that money back too. So we don't have this 12% hard money rate, which we would have had to borrow way more because if we're buying it for $400,000, right, and it's 10% down, now we're borrowing, $360,000 at 12%, our payment for all interest would have just been through the roof. So this saved us a ton of money and helped make those margins better for us too.
Yeah, that's a great point for those of you guys listening. So mortgage, the first 10 to 15 years is mostly interest. So what Stephen is saying is each month that he makes the payment on behalf of the seller, he's actually chunking down principal. So that gives him not only a bigger profit margin when he sells, but he gets all of that money back because it's all principal. So that's a really great point. I love that.
Yeah, it's been great.
So how was the community involved with this deal, this transaction?
So Ingrid on this transaction, with her being an agent, she's always looking for end buyers. If we can secure somebody before we even list the property, I mean, what a perfect world that is. Like you already know who's lined up. So she does a really, really good job with that. So on her end, she saw somebody in the community that was posting saying, hey guys, I'm moving to Arizona. I'm looking for a house that's worth $550. I need to be in Goodyear. It's in the West Valley in Arizona. She's like, I need to be in Goodyear. This is what I'm looking for. My family lives here. We want to be close to my family. Does anybody have anything? I have a VA loan. Just let me know. So immediately we're like, oh my gosh, yeah, let's jump on this. Let's hop on a Zoom with him. because that's easy for him. It's $0 down when it's a VA loan, and now we can tailor this property to be something that he actually wants. Whereas in today's market, it's really tough because the prices for the houses are so high, and you're typically not getting a renovated property. You're getting kind of whatever was built as back then. So now he has a fully renovated property. It was really a win on his end too there.
Yes. Did you find he liked it as you guys designed it, or did he ask for anything on the back end? Or
yeah, so he loved the way that we designed it because we brought him into that. So he was a part of this whole transaction. So my project manager, Anna Martinez, who was Pace's first employee ever, I also use Pace's crews. I'm thankful enough that I'm out in Arizona, and then when he stopped doing fix and flips, I was able to step in and continue feeding those families. I have done so many projects with them. So I've done green kitchens, blue kitchens, white kitchens. I've done bathrooms that have big tiles, little tiles. I've done so many different styles and things. So we were able to hop on a Zoom, and I'm like, hey, here's the past 20, 30 flips that I've done. What's your guys' vision? What are you looking for? Let's figure out what you want, and let's do this within reason. We'll make sure we get all the work done and that it looks beautiful and that it's done well. But we want to make sure we're at least tailoring this to something that you guys are going to be proud of.
I love that, and that's huge. Again, now let's take it a step further. Now you helped a veteran and helped a family, and then you guys helped your business. So I mean, just everybody wins. It's that old saying, right? Everybody gets a seat at the table and everybody eats.
Yeah,
that's incredible. So did you use any Gator, top tier TC, anybody else in the community, or just SubTo?
Just SubTo this time around. Yeah. So this time we just used SubTo, and then we used somebody that's in the community. His name's Benson as a PML on this deal as well. So Benson was a part of this deal, and then we ended up moving his funds when this closed to the next deal, which was great because it was our first time really working with him on the PML side. And he's like, man, this was smooth like butter. Like, let's do another one. Like, let's get this working again. We're like, well, great. So as soon as we closed on this one, that money transferred to the next deal on the same exact day. We did the same signings.
Yeah, very nice, and that's a great point. So when you're building a community, when you're building a business around flipping, having a great partnership with a PML that you guys are now partnered together, and you guys are going to do more flips together. That just money loves speed, right? It allows you to get the next deal going immediately. So that's powerful. So again, for you guys listening, going back to relationships, build the relationships with other people in the community, and you'll find out where their superpowers are and how they can help you achieve your outcomes.
Yeah, I absolutely agree. Yeah. Everything that you're looking for is within the community. Whatever community is that you're a part of, whether it's SubTo, Gator, top tier TC, all the resources you need are right there.
Yeah, just so you guys know, you guys hear that dinging in the background. Every time you hear that bell, it means another investor is doing a creative
another deal's been closed.
It's just bam, bam, bam. I love it.
It's not my SMS on my laptop.
No, I totally get it. I'm just trying to eat food. So yeah, it happens. So awesome. So with all that said, tell everybody how SubTo has impacted your life.
Tremendously. It broke through so many mindset barriers for me because I came from the corporate sales experience, right? So I'm taught to think a certain way and do things a certain way, whereas SubTo, here's the biggest one that I'll attribute it to. There's no rules in business. Like, yeah, there's things that you don't want to go to jail for, and you just want to make sure you stay legal on the things that you do.
Yeah.
Outside of that, you're in full control of whatever you want to do, and there's more than one way to buy and sell a house. There's more than one way to buy and sell a business. There's more than one way to buy and sell a car. Like, this gave me like a master's degree or higher when it came to economics and finance and how the business world works, because I didn't even know you could do these things. I didn't know you could just make up money out of thin air, and that's how people were doing deals. And now that I know it, everywhere you look, you're like, wait a minute, that's what everybody does. Yeah. Anybody that's doing things high level within business are using all of these strategies for acquiring another business, for acquiring another whatever, so it taught me so much in that way, and it put no limitations on what was actually feasible. And then it's almost came down to, it's like, how creative can you get? So we started coming up with some of our own strategies on certain things too, because we're like, can we just plug and play? Like, these are the things we know, but maybe there's even more that we can do. So that's been huge. It shattered everything we knew about anything to do with finance, business, or anything. It's been great.
I would argue that you actually have a PhD now, so I'm going to start calling you Dr. Steven.
I would argue it too now at this point. I've learned a lot. It's been great.
Yeah, and let's face it, it's called creative finance for a reason. We can be as creative as we want to be, like you said. If the person wants the asset, is willing to be creative, and the person buying it is willing to be creative, then there's really nothing stopping you. And the amount of hoops you don't have to jump through because you're not using the bank and because you're really making a connection, then everybody involved makes money.
Yeah.
So
There's one thing that I will say to that too, though, is that you can overthink it. And don't get too creative if you don't have to. If there's a specific situation where you have to think outside of the box, do it. But there's a lot of people too that I talk to where they're spinning their wheels and almost trying to make it as creative as possible.
true.
They're like, there's 6 legs to this transaction. I'm gonna take it over SubTo, then I'm gonna refinance it in order to get the money here and then send it to this guy in the Philippines. And then I'm like, back it up.
Yeah.
Let's back it up. Keep it simple. Use it as you need it.
Yeah, I've noticed the most the best creative investors I've noticed really just play detective, right? They find out what the seller truly needs to walk away, as Pace would say, find the bunnies, and then just solve that problem. And then whatever level of creativity that takes, a lot of times it's not as difficult as you think. So you're right, overthinking can be a deal killer. So I'm glad you brought that up.
Yeah, absolutely, it can.
So with that said, what's up next for Stephen Hunt? What do you what's on deck?
What isn't going on? Oh my gosh. So we're always buying. Ingrid and I have partnered up to do flips full time together now. It's just easier that way. She's a deal magnet. She loves finding the deals. She loves helping sellers. It's great. I've really systemized the flip side of it, so it doesn't take as much effort for the project management because we have the right crews, we have the right team, and focusing on developing them. So from a deal perspective, our goal is to do between 20 to 30 flips a year between the both of us. And then outside of that, I still want to add for every essentially 3 to 4 flips that we do, I want to buy 1 rental, continue that in our portfolio so I can keep building our own personal portfolio.
Nice.
Get that paid down over time. And then I'm also building a property management business that I started last year. So that's been going great on that side too. It also helps out with acquisitions here and there once in a while because obviously we have investors and sometimes they have pain in the butt properties and they go, hey, do you want to buy this? And we're the first people at the table because I have the property management business to be able to go and get those deals as well. So right now it's making sure that we get our system really dialed in on the fix and flip side of things. That's not a full-time business for us. That's something that we keep going in the background and then focus on building out our additional ventures and things that add to what we're doing as opposed to picking something just completely random.
Yeah, that's and I like that, and I'm sure I don't know if people also picked up too. You're part of Owners Club, which is Pace's new program. I'm sure you're bringing absolute gold from there.
Oh, it's been great.
And how to grow your business as well.
Yeah, I've been really enjoying the time here. Some really awesome speakers. Just learning some higher level opportunities here, which has been great. Because that's also the hard part as investors, and a lot of us will run into this where you start doing the business, you start doing the things, and you go, well, now what? Like, how do I kind of get to that next level? Like, how do I get to the point where I'm consistently buying rentals all the time, or that I'm actually making and keeping all the money that I am making? Like, how do I get this to be optimized and systemized? And that's a lot of what we are learning about.
Yeah, and you're in a room with people that have the energy that'll take you to the next level, and that's worth its weight in gold right there, right? It's just to be. A mentor once told me, he goes, if you want to be a great bowler, you got to hang around bowlers. You're
in a room that's been filtered out, which has been great. So, I mean, the first day alone, we found somebody that had $1 million in PML, just has 7 figures laying around to be a private money lender for fix and flip projects and things like that. So the next day, of course, on our lunch break, Ingrid and I are like, we got to show this person some properties. Let's take them out. So we drove them out to some of our properties that we're working on right now, and just building some of those higher level relationships. Everything you need is in these rooms, even if you're not a part of Owners Club, even if you're in Gator or SubTo or Top Tier CC, there's people in there like Abraham Gray, for example. I mean, I don't think he's in Owners Club. He's definitely in the others though. So there's people all throughout. It's just a matter of connecting with those people and understanding what their superpowers are and how you can really best leverage them, because everybody's good at something. It's pulling that out of them, so you know how you can partner with them and do more business with them.
Yeah, and they are all willing to help. That's the cool thing about this community. They are willing to help. However, you need to come to them and do some of the heavy lifting. And then, of course, the best way to pay them back is to take the goal that they've given you, go take action and do it, and then come back and say, hey, here's where I was successful, or hey, I tried this and maybe I could do it a little different, or it didn't work like I thought. Do you have any advice? And a lot of times these guys and gals will 100% give that back.
Yeah, and be willing to share whatever advice you have too. We all have our own special experiences. It's easy to come to these and be like, oh, I got to connect with that guy. I got to connect with that person, because you want to take. Everybody wants to put more knowledge in their brain so they can apply it to their business. But how can you be a value add to other people? Because other people are going to connect you with other people, because they're going to be like, you have to talk to Steven. Like that dude's doing fix and flips. He's doing this. He's doing that. Like, let me connect the two of you. Other people will start being the advocate for you if you start focusing on other people's problems and seeing what resources you can bring them as well.
And that's a great point, right? So people come to me, they're brand new at SubTo, and they go, well, the first thing I want to do is I want to learn wholesaling. Well, I am not a wholesaler, but I can connect you with people like Steven and others that are just crushing it in the, fix and flip area, if that's where you want to change your focus to, or if you want to stay in wholesaling, there's a lot of big names in the SubTo community that have been crushing it in wholesaling, and I can send them that way.
Yes.
Yeah, and that's why it's important to build those relationships, right? Because I've literally got lists of phone numbers in my phone from SubTo students where I can call and start to ask for something. Before I finish my sentence, they go, "How can I help?"
Yes, and they're readily available.
Yeah.
And that's been so tremendous. There's been so many situations where you go out, you create the chaos, you do the things that you're learning about, and then all of a sudden now I kind of attribute this to that if anybody's ever seen the Batman movie with Heath Ledger, there's a scene where Heath Ledger's like, man, the dog always wants to chase the mailman, right? And he's always trying to catch the mailman, but he doesn't know what to do with the mailman once he actually gets him. So as long as you're taking action, you have everything around you that you could possibly need, which is so awesome. So that was us in a lot of situations. We used Love Francis for our first transaction ever to do our TC, and she walked us through the whole process. We had no idea what we were doing. We got to find hard money lenders. So we reached out to Debbie Lou and a bunch of other people in the community, and they gave us a list of hard money lenders to call. So every resource that we've ever needed in real estate came from the communities that we're a part of, because we went and got the opportunity first. And while we had the opportunity, we were able to then at that point reach out to everybody. Don't just reach out just to shoot the shit with people, not start a cuss, but don't figure out a way to add value to them. Go find the deals, go find the opportunities, and then start asking for things, because you can directly apply it at that moment in time. Otherwise, you're just sitting there on the sidelines collecting as much knowledge as possible. And let me tell you, guess what? As soon as you do find the opportunity, you're still going to have to go back and ask all those people again, because you're not going to remember all the details that they told you. You won't remember it like you do until you actually are going through it.
Yeah, learning without action it's not getting you anywhere, right? It's that utilization of the information. Even if you're not good at it, at least you're doing something, and then people will go, okay, well, you're trying. Here, go down this path now and see how that works for you. Yeah. So that's a great point. And there's no doubt you and I have sold this community, and this community is huge. So with that said, what would you say to anybody who's on the fence about joining this community?
Don't be on the fence. Don't be like me. I waited a whole year, you guys, to sign up. And I watched other people that I know crush it. My sister-in-law legit made cleared over $1 million her first year in SubTo. And I watched that and I was like, what the heck am I doing? Yes, is there a purpose? Yes. Was I, preparing myself? Yeah. But had I joined a year earlier, oh my gosh, I can't even imagine where things could be at right now. I also joined right as the market was going down. And we had the interest rates going up. I'm like, shoot, I never even got to have fun and do all the other crazy stuff when people were given ridiculous offers. So the time's now. The time is now. If you want to get started in real estate, the time is now to join SubTo.
I love that. Yeah, absolutely. So there's no doubt that you're starting to become the top of your game, right? You've learned some key things. You're making stuff happen. You're continuing to pay it forward. So with that said, if people want to reach out and connect with you, what's the best way to connect with you?
The best way is always Instagram. I'm a terrible texter, and Facebook I check once in a while. I do a lot of business on Facebook, or a lot of my business is on Facebook for the rental properties, for all sorts of stuff. So it gets jumbled up. Instagram is like my communication platform. Like, you want to talk and engage and have fun, hit me up on Instagram. I'm always responding to people there. It's my favorite place to engage, because I can go see who you are right away. It's so fast. It's so easy. We can follow each other. It's the best platform for it.
Awesome. Well, there you guys have it. His IG handle is right on the screen. Don't be afraid to reach out. And thank you, Steven. That was an amazing story that needed to be told.
Well, thank you, Jason. I really appreciate it. And I appreciate your guys' time here.
Thank you, brother. You crushed it, man. Thank you for answering those questions. It was an absolute pleasure meeting you, at Owners Club. Oh, man, lots of fun. And for those in the chat who are listening who have not yet taken the leap to jump on the show with us, if you're in the SubTo community or the Gator community, as well as the top tier TC community, we would love to have you as a guest on the show. So shoot an email out to Taya. That's TAYA at pacemurby.com. I have it on the screen here. We would love to hear from you. Taya would love to hear from you. Taya is absolutely fantastic. And if you didn't know this, hope she doesn't get mad at me. Her wonderful sister is the amazing Jade Jarvis.
No way.
Oh, that's
Yes.
that's very
Oh, Jade.
Taya and Jade Jarvis are sisters. Yes, they're fantastic people. So shoot us an email. Taya will jump on that and get you guys on the show. Again, as always, it's a pleasure. Stephen, thank you so much, brother, for being on the show.
Thank you. Thank you for having me, Eric.
You're an amazing host as always, brother. And I will be harassing you, Jason, and calling you because you are the multi-fi guy, my man.
I'm doing what I can to expand my knowledge and my ability to make wealth in real estate. So yeah, definitely reach out.
Beautiful, beautiful. All right, you guys. Everybody take care and have a good one.
See ya.